Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV Profit. I'm Harsh Saita. With me is Neeraj Shah. And let's look at how we're seeing the Nifty this Monday afternoon. We're down around 0.6%. We're at the day's low. In fact, we've slipped below 25,500 just about. When we'll pull up the intraday chart, that's likely what we'll see. Just off the day's lows as we speak. And it's the Nifty Bank which is causing that bit of drag. Let's pull up the Nifty Bank. That one too at the day's low. Let's look at contributors before I look at the heat map on the Nifty, and there are some gainers as well really standing out, and you'll see Trent there, Eternal there, TCS there, and some IT counters in fact showing some amount of zing in a market like this. But when you're looking at the heavyweights, HDFC, ICICI, Kotak within the Nifty private banking pack dragging the index, and Reliance Industries as well is the other one which is dragging the index lower in trade today. Let's look at the heat map, and we'll likely see a texture and flavor of that. Trent is up 3% in trade. IndusInd having another good day of trade, 1.7% higher. SBI is up 1.5% as well. And not surprising, because the Nifty PSU banking index is the one which is showing maximum traction in trade today. Among the losers, and before I go to sectors, just quickly want to carve those losers out. 2% lower on a Kotak Mahindra Bank. Around 2% lower in some of the auto stocks as well. Maruti and Hero part of that pack. Tata Consumer is the other one which is the top loser in trade today among consumption names. But when you're looking at sectors, you'll see a lot more red than green in trade today. So you're seeing PSU banks which is completely trading in a league of its own. But outside of that, the private banking index is the top loser in trade. So that's the other one you want to quickly note. Nifty Auto Finance, no big losers, but nonetheless there's obviously a bias towards the red that we are seeing, including the Nifty Realty within the broader markets down around 0.5% thereabouts. But Neeraj, the advanced decline, and let's pull that one up while Neeraj comes in. The advanced decline on the NSE, well, we are seeing a taper with regard to that advanced decline ratio, but we've still not seen 1:1 on that one.
Yeah, and well, to an extent, this is not unwelcome. We had such a splendid week last week that yes, today it could well be consolidation, but a lot of stocks doing well. So portfolios, some of them are still doing well despite the Sensex being down in trade. So this is the broader end of the spectrum, and look at the gainers and losers there, right? And we'll get to individual names, but you see a flavor of financials in this as well, right? So there is Aavas Financial, Aditya Birla Sun Life, Chola Holding, effectively financial. Some chemical names slipping in with Alcala Mines today showing. Raymond, well, a day ahead of the Raymond Realty listing, up about 13%. Alembic has news flow to it as well. And on the losing side, it's interesting that SBI Cards has come off because it was widely anticipated that credit card data is looking positive. But this one stood out for me. Otherwise, JB Chemicals, the deal lower, etc. You could expect anything could have happened there. And otherwise, it's fairly okay. Just get the list of specific names. So the deal makers today, JB Chemicals is down 7%, Torrent is up 2.2%, and AkzoNobel, the big deal maker from Friday, is flattish in trade. So that's the first set of names. Brokerages are constructive on these stocks. So RBL Bank, Citi has the positive catalyst watch. That's up 4% at the high point of the day today. IGL, again, Citi has a positive catalyst watch, not so much. Uno Minda didn't quite react to that note. From the start of the trading day, has been pretty flat itself. So that's not done too much either. Well, stocks in news include Vari, which is up 5%. And as we said, Alembic Pharma, 11%. And Varsha will join in a bit later on to talk about it. And negative news flow on these two, right? Karnataka Bank, the resignation, Sigachi, the fire. And I think those two stocks are sulking in trade. But is this the pause before the storm, Harsh?
Well, let's quickly go across to Jay Bala and ask him. Jay Bala, you from Cash the Chaos, welcome, good afternoon. You were clearly positive the last time we spoke to you. You were talking about Nifty at 29,000 levels. That's a conversation which Neeraj and me reminisce even in the newsroom earlier today. So talk to us. Is this more of a pause? How do you look at the markets today?
Hi Harsh, I think you're right over there. This is just a pause in the bull trend. We already have the US markets at all-time highs. So that was not expected. People were pointing towards hedge funds being short and the retail being long. The markets have still got to record highs. So it's a matter of time before Nifty also does that. I think if you recall from our conversation 2 weeks ago, I had anticipated the next 1,000 points on the Nifty to be quite quick and probably reach all-time highs by July. I think we are on track for that. So there is no change in that view. And what is encouraging in today's price action is that the laggard PSU banks, they are showing good price action. And we need SBI to cross 837. Once that's done, I think the private sector banks, which are now taking a breather now, we saw HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank earlier, a few weeks ago, clock fresh 52-week highs. They'll also join the rally. And there's also nascent strength that's emerging in frontline IT. I'm bullish on mid-cap IT. So there are positive signs here. This is just sector rotation. So I don't think the Nifty is likely to drop below 25,000. We are likely to see 26,000 first before 25,000.
Okay, Jay. So, I presume markets move in legs and cycles, right? So, let's assume right now it's just because last week was fabulous. So, what happens today, tomorrow is okay. But in this existing leg, do you anticipate all-time highs in the month of July? Or do you reckon that there could be a corrective move as well possible before the trend resumes?
Yeah, my interpretation of the price structure is that such that we should have all-time highs really quickly. I'm surprised that the markets are taking a breather today, given that US markets clocked fresh all-time highs, and this is no damage to the existing price structure. So and to your question, I'm anticipating another 1,000 points to come through really quickly. Before end of July, I think we should have fresh record highs for Nifty.
And what about the Bank Nifty, Jay? Because that's hitting record highs as we speak, right? Today too started off on a record high.
That's right. My objective for the banking index remains at 58,500 to 59,000. That's not too far. This is mainly the lag. The price objective aren't as high compared to the 29,000 I have for the Nifty. That's because there is a multiple resistance that's emerging around 59,000 mark, and we're seeing SBI, a heavyweight within the banking space, underperform. So once 837 is done, I'm anticipating 59,000 to be reached on the banking index. It might just plateau over there, but maybe my interpretation is a bit more conservative. Let's see what happens. But at the moment, I have an objective of 58,500 to 59,000 for the banking index.
Okay. And Jay, how do you look at the moves in the PSU banking index versus the private banking index? Because those look like they're trading in two completely different markets.
You're spot on there. Yeah, it does look like that. But, I think that's about to change. SBI was actually at the April bottom. It didn't break the March bottom. So it's had a slightly different price structure. And that's the reason why the Nifty PSU index is having a slightly different price structure. And as I pointed out earlier, once SBI crosses 837, I think both the PSU banking space and the private sector banking space, that will come in sync, because the sentiment will once again shift to being bullish on both PSU banks and private sector banks. So yeah, that's exactly the reason. SBI had an inverse head and shoulder breakout in April as the broad market was bottoming in around 21,000 mark. So it's just actually it's slightly leading the market. So that is about to change, and all will rise and sink.
Okay, and your picks for this afternoon, Jay?
I have one from the capital goods space and one from the PSU banking space. I like Thermax. Thermax is having a good basing formation. I'm slightly preempting the breakout. I'm anticipating the breakout to occur. So I'm placing a stop at about 3,000 for the stock. I'm anticipating this to cross 4,100 and maybe even higher. Usually when Thermax starts moving, it usually moves from circuit to circuit. And that's the reason I'm trying to slightly preempt the market. But I think the price structure is very encouraging. The next one is Bank of Baroda. I don't know if I pointed out 2 weeks back, PNB and Bank of Baroda were actually earlier showing signs that they were likely to bottom, and that has actually happened. And I'm waiting. The price structure is showing that Bank of Baroda is likely to hit somewhere close to 276 mark. I don't think it's going to drop to 230 now. So that's the stop loss. So maybe you can also keep an eye on Punjab National Bank. I don't think it's going to drop below 100.
Okay, and Jay, curious to know your view with regard to something like an EID parry. Now, this one stands out because over the last month or so, stock has done maybe 15% in returns. It's up 4% in trade today as well. Give us your quick take.
Yeah, probably it's got to do with international sugar prices being quite low, and probably AD is a beneficiary. The sugar 11 futures are coming to an important price point. Could be bottoming really soon, and also AD Paris price structure from the 625 odds low that it saw in March is coming to a short-term resistance around 1125, 1150 is an important resistance for the stock. And momentum is waning. So it's completing a short-term cycle now. So I think it's a bit prudent to trim gains here if you're already long here. I won't advocate fresh longs in the stock.
Okay. Lastly, Jay, not lastly really, would love for you to stay on, but just one quick word. Select pharma names are starting to do really well. Today I saw Laurus being one, but a clutch of others have done well all through last week as well. Any thoughts on any of these specifically today? I mean, some of the other newsmakers are down today, but otherwise, Torrent, Laurus, etc., all of them have done very well.
That's right. If you look at the Nifty Pharma Index, 22,100 is important resistance for me, and that I'm anticipating a breakout to happen. I've been anticipating this to happen for the last 5-10 sessions. It did break out about on intraday basis a couple of weeks ago. But it's pulled back from there. I think it's either today or tomorrow. It's likely to close about 22,100. Once that happens, the sector as such is likely to aim for the all-time highs past 24,250 because that's an inverse head and shoulders breakout for the sector. And I believe Lupin is nicely placed because it's right now underperforming. Once the stock crosses 2070, 2090, that will trigger an important breakout for the stock. And if the sector were to rise, right now, Dr. Reddy's and Divi's have been outperforming the rest of the space, and Laurus Labs are all just playing catch up. And once the Nifty Pharma Index closes about 22,100, I think it will be a much more broader rally for the pharma space.
Jay, curious also to know about consumption for a bit. Trent is one of them which stands out within the Nifty 50 pack. 3.5% higher as we speak, and then you have Tata Consumer, which is down 2.5%. Give us your take on both of those specifically and consumer in general.
Yeah, today's price action on Trent is an important price action. The print of 6221 says that the decline from the all-time highs is a corrective decline, and the stock is likely to go back to retest the all-time highs. Post a pullback. Right now, it's completing a short-term price move. So there'll be a pullback in the next 3-4 sessions. That's my anticipation. I'm generally very muted on the FMCG space in total, on the consumer space. There is a possibility that FMCG may not clock fresh all-time highs, and the consumer space might also be a laggard along with the FMCG sector. So, Tata Consumer is not a great name within that space. So I would be a little more neutral over here rather than bullish within the FMCG space and consumer space. Maybe that could be a possibility that I'm interpreting this wrong, because my thesis since last September is that FMCG has clocked a medium-term top. But right now I'm not bearish, but I'm neutral on the sector.
We're getting to the management of Cyient in just moments from now, but it's interesting the kind of course that some of these non-Nifty IT and engineering companies have charted for themselves in the last few quarters. Cyient, I mean, engineering, if you will, but also tech in some fashion. What's your sense about this one, if you have looked at the charts recently?
I've looked at Cyient technologies, not looked at Cyient engineering. It's basing around, and it's a laggard within the mid-cap IT space. I've been positive on Coforge, Persistent, and Affle. These are doing pretty well, but Cyient, I think it's basing around current levels. I know it's very similar to KPIT. But if Cyient were to close above 1400, I think it'll follow the footsteps of Affle. But right now, I don't want to preempt the market. And and let's see. TCS is an important stock for me. If that were to close about 3550, just like pharma, that will lift the entire IT space. Right now, I'm neutral on IT, just like FMCG. But I'm bullish on mid-cap IT. Cyient is not one of them. But wait, let's see if TCS were to cross 35.50 on a closing basis. Probably the result season could, provide some positives for the sector. If that happens, I think there is scope for Cyient too. But watch 1400. That's an important closing point for the stock. Positives are above that.
Okay, Jay, stay on because we would want you to comment on some of the other IT names. So maybe this interview with Cyient gives you that time to check what else do you like in this pocket. But since we are talking about Cyient, let's get in the management of Cyient. In fact, here's the deal, right? Cyient has partnered with MIPS for custom chip development. Let's get in both the managements. Suman Narayan, who's CEO at the Cyient semiconductor business, and Samir Vasan, who's the CEO of MIPS, join us. Suman, I'll start off with you. Could you explain to us what is the collaboration about and the timelines that you set for this collaboration and the scope of the outcome as well?
Yeah, so the custom ASIC market, is estimated at about $35 to $50 billion. It's growing rapidly because systems today demand more than general purpose off-the-shelf integrated chips that vendors provide. They need tailored solutions, and they need to integrate three things. There's integrated compute, there's analog and power electronics that really optimize for performance, space, and the ability to consume low power. This partnership that we have formed with MIPS basically addresses those three issues on integrated compute, on analog, and power electronics.
Are you trying to say, I think I heard you say that it is important to build semiconductors for the future. Are you trying to fill in a gap for a current product that is not there? Or is the market large enough that even if you make a product that is there right now, there is a growing demand and therefore there won't be a problem for the products that you make?
So, if you look at the collaboration that we bring with MIPS, it brings two complementary strengths. One is that MIPS, the Atlas RISC-V processor, is built for real-time safety-critical applications and adds intelligent compute for us. The Cyient's analog and power design expertise is essential for the embedded systems and energy management. The market itself is very large today for custom mixed-signal analog chips. Again, to address the needs for power, high levels of integration, and offering differentiation for our end customers, especially if you look at places like data center power, where it's a huge problem today in efficiency. If you look at the efficiency conversion from, 800 volts down to the core voltage, there's 4 conversions today that need to happen. That loses about 22% of efficiency. So with this sort of solutions that Samir and I are putting together, I think we really have an opportunity to improve the efficiency in data center power, but also in industrial automation, especially around robotics, which combines compute and programmable power in an efficient form factor.
Okay. Samir, can I bring you in on this conversation? Do you have the liberty of doing other partnerships as well? Part one of my question is that. And secondly, how soon does this partnership, the magic of this partnership begin?
Yeah, so Neeraj, first of all, thank you for having me at NDTV Profit as well. So MIPS, just very quickly, right? MIPS is not a new company. It's about a 40-year-old, very established semiconductor CPU company. And what we're noticing is, firstly, the geographic interest in semiconductors is absolutely expanding, right? Historically, semiconductors been in only certain geographies like North America, Europe, China, Japan. But what we're seeing is the geopolitical aspects of what's going on in the industry and the supply chain. Semiconductors is something which broader set of countries are starting to invest in. And you have many players, many key players who are very well established in industries starting to expand into semiconductors. So as MIPS is continuing to build products, Cyient, I know Suman for many years, and this partnership was very natural, right? So it is something which complements the two companies. Cyient is an expert in mixed signal analog power solutions. Power delivery is very fundamental to how AI at the edge, AI at the cloud, software-defined vehicles. Power is very fundamental. But the thing is, power is somewhat always stuck in legacy. So while compute has moved rapidly, the intelligence around power, which delivers intelligent power to compute, is still lagging. And I think it's lagging because we've been trying to put very standard solution in problems which need custom solutions. So when the opportunity presented itself with someone trying to do what he's doing at Cyient and me trying to do what I'm trying to do at MIPS, it kind of comes together very nicely because we are a compute company. We build solutions from small to large, which go into a variety of aspects of compute. They're a mixed signal analog custom silicon provider. And if we're able to put our minds together and come up with solutions for our joint customers where we bringing custom power solutions across a variety of markets, I think this can be a win-win for everyone. And no, so and to answer your question, no, it's not exclusive. I mean, we are only just starting to expand our footprint in India from a business perspective. We have been expanding our R&D footprint. We have a very large team in Bangalore. We have a center in Pune as well. So obviously our roots are already in India, and I think we have the capability of working with customers like Cyient to not only form solutions which are developed in India, but also bring a global perspective to what's happening in hyperscalers and automotive, what we see worldwide, back into the Indian market.
Suman, you saw the intent and that's why you guys came together, but not every intent results into a very large result. So is this, given your current size, is it a string of pearls strategy or could it become materially large for you?
No, I think we just want to add to what Samir said, right? I think this partnerships, it takes time to build partnerships. It takes time to build trust. And, you've got to make sure that there's complexity involved in the integration of these chips. So materially, this could become potentially very big for both of our companies as we kind of get into this endeavor. But I'd say this is one of the many things that we in Cyient Semiconductor have to do to get much bigger than where we are today. So the partnership is one aspect of it. We, like you talked about before, making sure that we've got the right supply chain in place is a second aspect of it. And the third aspect of it is we have to have assurance of supply for our customers. So there's the build, that portion of this, that where Samir's team and our teams will work very closely with our engagement with our customers. But we also need to make sure that we have the supply portion of it kind of ironed out as well. So there are many things to work out, in the next couple of years to become, potentially much larger than where we are today.
One final question, Suman. You are a listed entity. I'd love to hear from you because you've been spun off into a different entity as well, right? And you had that piece. So from where Cyient is right now, how much of a scalability and size do you envision for the next 3 to 5 years for this unit?
I can envision that we can easily grow 10 times where we are today. The market is big. The semiconductor market is 600 billion. I think the partnership that we're building really aligns closely with the Government of India's semiconductor vision. It's to build a resilient, innovation-driven semiconductor ecosystem in India, which also serves domestic demand, like Samir talked about, where we have access to those markets, but also export value-added, high-impact technology for the other markets as well. So I see a big potential for us, as the market continues to move fast towards $1 trillion in semiconductors.
Wishing you both all the best. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking the time out and being with us and giving us your thoughts on this piece. Well, that's Cyient for you in the partnership with MIPS and both the head honchos with us talking about this piece. Jay, I know you said that Cyient is not on your list, but would love to know with levels, what else within the non-Nifty IT names are within your list?
Yeah, and they're all moved that, unfortunately. Apple, I'm still positive on it, but it's quite late. It's already at record highs. And Coforge, Persistent. These are the three that I like within the space. And Tech Mahindra, if you could call that frontline IT, that is the best within the frontline IT name. So Tech Mahindra is doing much better than Infosys and TCS and HCL Tech. So I'm bullish on that. But I just want to add the caveat that I've been bullish for a few weeks, so it's a little bit late for fresh entries.
Okay. Jay, what about some of the non-traditional IT plays, ER&D and the like? Are there any names there that attract you?
I don't know which stocks are there within that space. I'm not that big of a fan. I just know
KPIT Tech could be one, Tata Technologies could be one. Any of those names that you're finding attractive?
Yeah, Tata Tech, it's had, I believe it's had an important bottom at 448 or 450 in April, and the price action from there is an implication, it implies it's hit a significant bottom. It's had a very negative move from its listings time, and I think it's likely to rally from this point onwards. It's having a short-term correction. So I'm positive on Tata Technologies from an investment perspective. So you can keep the April lows as a stop loss for it, and look at it as an investment candidate. And something like nucleus software. I don't know which space this is. That is also looking quite interesting. It's a slightly illiquid name, but I think it's also a very interesting stock in this space. It's already bullish and it's seeing correction. Possibly the 1120 low it saw a couple of days ago. That could possibly be an end of correction. If it were to close above 1240, I think it'll imply that the stock is heading for fresh 52-week highs.
Is there a view, Jay, that you have on an Avas Financiers? That one is perked up 6.5% in trade today, and was wondering what's happening there. Do you have a view?
No, I haven't looked at the stock recently,
Okay.
but most of the financial stocks, they're all looking quite positive. Yeah, and so it's lifting. All boats are lifting financial space within that space. So I think it's the price structure has been quite volatile for the stock, and it's not a encouraging sign for me. So I would avoid the stock for the moment. So not a great stock, but it's the short term are positives here.
And Jay, anything you're liking in defense, because that's one pocket which we haven't touched. So.
Yeah, and defense is definitely an avoid. It's had its run, and it's due for a short-term correction. It could be quite sharp. Avoid frontline names like Masgon and and other stocks. But you can look at something like Kochi, which has been a laggard. So it probably could play catch up. But as a sector, I'm a bit cautious here. It's had a good run from November, December. Right now, it's time to take profits. But if you're liking something, make sure that it's something like a BHEL, which has an overlap within the capital goods space, and that might be a little bit better off. The stop loss is 240. But pure defense plays like Masgon, those are all generally an avoid, because the Nifty Defense Index is possibly clocking a double top.
Okay, so that's the call coming in from Jay. Thanks, Jay. We'll actually let you go on that note as well. Thanks for sticking with us over the last 20 odd minutes. But what we'll also do is we'll slip into a short break. Before we do that, let's listen into Devina Mehra, founder, chairperson and MD at First Global. She's bullish on relatively large cap companies. Listening to her rationale on that one as we slip into this very short break. We'll see you on the other side.
Nifty, of course, is only 50 companies. So you do, of course, look at beyond that. But on the other hand, I am not also and never have been even in the last year and a half in the absolute micro cap or very small cap range. So that again is a risky area where you have to pick and choose. And anyway, you have to pick and choose. So our view still remains reasonably okay on the relatively large caps, which is not just, as I said, not just the Nifty part of it, but relatively on the, let us say, the top 600-700 companies is where we would look at.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
Imports become the exception rather than the norm, and increasingly we do almost last year, for example, of the contracts that we signed of record 2,09,000 crores, 81% was awarded to the domestic industry. Our intent is to manufacture in India, preferably with design also in India.
I am so elated to be on the same screen as the Defense Secretary, and I get a chance to talk about what he said.
In certain areas, like for example,
artillery guns and armored vehicles, or in some categories of missiles like the BrahMos and the Akash, we've come of age.
What Defense Secretary Sir said is 100% true. And today private industry can really increase their involvement in R&D.
I am very proud to say that we make in our categories that we have been supplying to our defense forces some of the best platforms in the world.
Back with India Market Close right here on NDTV Profit, and it's that time of the show wherein our colleague Somit Sarkar joins in with all the key chatter that is important to know from the dealing rooms across the country. Somit, good afternoon. What did you find out today?
Good afternoon, Neeraj. Firstly, a couple of stocks that are in focus. It's HDFC, AMC and Angel One. Dealers are indicating that large HNIs have been accumulating both these counters in expectations of a strong Q1 earnings that they're expecting. Now, HDFC, AMC specifically, dealers are indicating that the AUM growth could be much better than what the street is estimating. And for Angel One, what they're saying is the fact that the growth in client addition, overall FNO and MTF book size is seen as quite positive for Angel One. Now, when it comes to Federal Bank and SBI cards, dealers are indicating that there are sell flows on FI. Desk in trade today, dealers are indicating that Federal Bank is getting sold at higher levels by FI specifically. And SBI card, if you look at the stock, is down nearly 3% in trade. When it comes to Marathon Next, the company had launched its QIP last week. What I'm hearing is that the announcement of closure will happen soon, most likely today. And on demand, dealers are indicating that the demand was quite strong. Multiple family offices, PMS and 4 to 5 mutual funds have also participated in this fundraise by Marathon Next. When it comes to Samman Capital, dealers are indicating that large influential HNIs who already own stake in the company are buying into trade today. That's Samman Capital. And lastly, Vintage Coffee. It's a small cap company around 1600 crore market capitalization. Dealers are indicating that there could be a fundraise announcement soon, and multiple HNIs and influential investors have shown interest in this fundraise for Vintage Coffee.
Okay, thank you for that, Somit, for joining us and giving us those insights. Joining us, in fact, today is also Hemen Kapadia, DR Choksi FinServ, and Siddharth Khemka, Head of Research at Motilal Oswal. Both of them. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Let me start off with Siddharth, because plenty of food for thought that Somit has given us. HDFC, AMC, Angel One, Q1 numbers expected to be better. What are you penciling in, Siddharth?
Hi, good afternoon. Glad to be on the show. Yes, I think if you look at the entire capital market theme, that is definitely picking up stream, and what we are also looking at. We saw the SIP inflows remaining consistently very strong in the last few months, despite the market volatility, and that should lead to higher growth for companies in the AMC space. So the entire AMC basket, I think, if you see HDFC AMC, you have the UTI AMC, Aditya Birla AMC, all those are trading very strong in this market. So our preferred pick idea, yes, definitely HDFC AMC. They have been consistently maintaining their focus on their existing schemes. They have not launched a lot of new schemes, unlike the peers, but they have consolidated their performance as well as the focus on existing schemes itself. In terms of numbers, what we are expecting AUM to see a growth of about 15-16% for FY26, and we believe valuations are comfortable given the high growth in the sector. Similarly, if you look for Angel One, I think not only has the retail volume picked up, I think you can see the number of IPOs also started to increase. That is only clear signal that the underlying strength in the equity markets that is improving. So yes, I think the MTF book as well as the participation of the mid and small caps, that is where bulk of retail interest is generally there, and hence we are seeing a sustained market recovery, which should drive at least the 40 to 45% operating margins that the company is targeting in the near term. What also supports Angel One is the recent strategy of diversifying into other distribution businesses, be it wealth management, the AMC license that they have taken, that should support the overall sentiments for Angel One as well. Again, strong ideas, overall positive on the capital market theme.
Do you have a view with regard to this space and your favorites within the pack? Hemant, this one's for you.
So, sorry, I missed your question.
Hemant, your top picks within this space, the capital market space, are you positive from a short-term perspective?
Yes, in fact, Angel One looks very interesting. I believe it's a buy at current levels. It's from the medium-term bottom, and I believe it's on the cusp of something bigger. So it looks very tempting, very interesting. And yeah, most of these stocks that you mentioned, whether it's HDFC, AMC, and all of them are safely ensconced in longer-term up moves. So look good. Yeah, I would say it's wishful thinking, but it would be nice to get some of these on decline. But yeah, they look good. But Angel One is looking good even at current levels. Harsh.
So Samit's still with us, and while we still have him, it's the final day of June, and the index is up about 3% or so for the month. Will July keep the gains coming? Well, at least the last decade in terms of historic returns seems to suggest so. Samit here with a breakdown of that.
Well, yes, if you look at the month of July, it's a quite important month in a given calendar year. Now, July month, in fact, in any given calendar year, has given the highest return on an average. Now, we have compiled the returns of the last 10 calendar years, and what we are seeing is that July is the best month in a calendar year for the equity markets. Now, if you look at the last 10 years, in the month of July, Nifty on an average has given a return of close to 3.6%, and it has closed in green 9 times. Well, not only Nifty, but also the Nifty mid cap and the Nifty small cap index have closed in green 9 times, and the average returns have been anywhere between 4.2 to 5%. So strong gains coming in for the major indices in the month of July. Now, if you look at the sectoral indices here, the Nifty IT, the Nifty Pharma, Nifty Financials, and Nifty Auto, all these indices have closed in green 8 times, while the average returns have been anywhere between 2.2 to 5.7% for these indices. Now, when it comes to Nifty Energy, Nifty FMCG, Nifty Bank, and Nifty PSU index, these indices have closed in green 7 times out of the last 10 years, while the average returns have been anywhere between 2.6 to 4%. When it comes to Nifty Media, Nifty Metal, both these indices have closed in green 6 times out of the last 10 years, and the average returns have been anywhere between 4%. And the Nifty Real Estate Index, that is Nifty Realty Index, that has closed in green the least number of times, just 5 times out of the last 10 years, while the average returns here also has been around 4%. Now comes the most important part, the stock-related part. Now we have 3 stocks that have closed in green, that have always closed in green in the month of July in the last 10 years, and those are Torrent Pharma, Berger Paints, and Divi's Lab. Now, these 3 stocks have closed in green every time, and the average returns for Torrent Pharma has been around 8.5%, for Berger Paints it's around 8.1%, and for Divi's Lab it's around 7.1%. Now, if you look at on the flip side, there is no stock that has closed in red always in the last 10 years. So that is one thing, and only one stock has closed in red 5 times, and that is Alkyl Amines, that has declined nearly 5 times out of the last 10 years in the month of July, but the average return here also is positive, around 1.7%. Apart from that, it's Redington, Tata Elxsi, Ramco Cement, and Alok Industries. Now these stocks have closed in red 4 times out of the last 10 years, and the average returns have been anywhere between negative 4.4% to positive 5.5%.
Wow. Okay. Well, Jackpot July. I love that name. I love that nomenclature. And Hemant, since you haven't given an index call, or since we haven't asked you for your index call, I wonder if you believe it can be Jackpot July this time around. After a, give me another adjective for J. After a Jackpot June, let's put it that way. I can't think of another one right now.
Well, Neeraj, yes, I would agree with half of a jackpot July. Why am I telling you half of a jackpot July? Because we've run up 1,200 points. But yes, it looks like Sumit was saying, July has been good, June, July for equities over the years. And seventh week, Neeraj, we spoke about it earlier, 24.5, 25.200. After we break out in the seventh week, so 25.800 and 26.200 all-time high on the horizon. So I would say jackpot July, yes, but maybe since we've had a very strong June, it might not have the same intensity. But yeah, 25.800 seems like a distinct possibility. And I believe we should be somewhere around 26, possibly, maybe, if not July and August early, Neeraj.
Well, I found a nickname, or an adjective rather. After a joyful June, can we, or after jubilant June, will we have a jackpot July? I think that's the key question.
Joyful, jubilant, should we have a judicious July?
No, jackpot is welcome.
I think it's going to be, we have to be a little careful this time, no? Because only because of July 9th, I would say, if
Which
at all.
Donald Trump is now saying that, we are open to postpone the July 9 deadline for select places.
But that was day before yesterday. As of yesterday, he said that, wait till July comes, you'll have 2 or 3 more versions. As of yesterday, he has said that I'm sticking to the July 9th deadline, but I'm not going to talk to anyone. Some people will just get it in their mail. You'll just get a letter. This is your tariff from now on, and take it or leave it. That's why I'm saying.
He's picking and choosing his countries.
Yeah.
Speaking of picking and choosing, let's ask Hemant, what is he picking today? Hemant, your ideas or the picks for this afternoon?
I'll digress a bit. All the jubilants that you mentioned, Neeraj, Jubilant Ingravia, Jubilant Foodworks, they're all looking good. So it looks like a jubilant July. Okay. Coming to the picks, 2 stocks, Neeraj. Firstly, a buy call on ACC. I like the entire cement space. I think, unfortunately, we don't have a cement index, but entire cement space is looking good. ACC is technically cheap because you have Ultratech at all-time highs. You have Dalmia Bharat. Everything has run up. Even Ambuja is on the cusp of a breakout, but comparatively, ACC is technically cheap. So a buy on ACC at, it's a conditional buy. Buy at 1900 because I feel the market's going to be a bit shaky for a couple of trading sessions. So buy ACC at 1900, stop loss 1860, target of 1980. I believe it should be comfortably overshot. Second one is JSW Energy. The stock has consolidated, looks very interesting, has found a medium-term base. Oscillators are giving a buy. It's about the 55-day exponential moving average. The daily oscillators, weekly oscillators, everything is hunky-dory. So it's ticking all the boxes, Neeraj. So buy on JSW Energy at 515, stop loss 495, target of 555. Once again, it should easily get overshot, I believe.
Okay. Talking about J's today, bad joke, but JB Chemical, what a pain point over there after that acquisition. And I wonder if it's only because of the open offer coming in at such a discount. Who really is exiting at this point? On the charts, Hemendra, any view on JB Chemicals?
Speaking about JB Chemicals, support at 1860, gap down, which is not good. It will struggle. Taking support on the 55-day exponential moving average hasn't gone anywhere in the past year or so. It's had a brilliant run-up corrective. So I'd say it's in an intermediate correction. Doesn't look particularly good or bad. 1660 is important. I don't think that breaks. If that breaks, some more near-term pressure. But otherwise, nothing very exciting, nothing very positive or negative about it.
Okay, so JB Chemicals might see a bit of more pain. Now, in a major move aimed at unlocking shareholder value, Raymond Realty, the demerged real estate arm of the Raymond Group, is set to make its debut on the stock exchanges tomorrow. Now, ahead of that, we had an exclusive conversation with Group CMD Gautam Singhania. Listen in.
My first question coming to you is the timeline that was decided with regards to where listing of the demerged entity with Raymond Realty goes. That is something that you've fast-tracked, and it's absolute value unlocking for the shareholders as well. Your initial comments?
Well, we had committed that in 2027 we'll try and do the real estate demerger. But yes, you're correct. We did fast track it because we thought there's a lot of value to be created. We want to create it, separate entities with their own focus of what they need to do, and bring in the best of class governance, world-class teams, management teams. So we saw a lot of merit in fast tracking it, which is why we did it, and we delivered the demerger a couple of years ahead of what we had planned.
Okay. Mr. Singhania, what's the kind of opportunity that Raymond is sitting on, taking into consideration the development pipeline that the company has?
Well, I think, we had a historical land to start with in Thane, and after that, we have taken 6 JDAs so far. I think the opportunities in the city of Mumbai are amazing, and the fact that we've got 6 joint development agreements so far shows that people have put their faith in this company, even though we are new developers. So I think between Thana and our new projects, we should be over 45,000 crores worth of projects currently in hand.
Okay, so the 6 joint development agreements, Mr. Singhania, that you're talking about, are these the ones that you will be launching in FY26 alone? Or is it going to be, spun over the next couple of years? How are you looking at it?
So the first one, which is the Bandra East one, which is the Queen's Necklace, has already been launched over a year ago. And I'm hoping in this fiscal, 2 for sure, if not 3 more, we hope to launch, which is what we have line of sight of.
So let's break it down between the next 3 years. What's the revenue potential, maybe in terms of pre-sales numbers? What are you expecting if you have to look at FY26, 27 and 28? What's the growth then?
So we are saying that we want to grow revenues at least 15% and EBITDA margins at about 20%. This year we did about 2,300 crores, but we grew very strongly this year. Last financial year, we grew about 46%. So whilst we're committing lower numbers, I'm hoping that we should do better than that.
Okay. Apart from this, if you have to look at the, consumers, the apartments, what I read, will range between 2 to 20 crores from the wide offering that you have. What percentage of the revenues will come from, mid-sized, premium and luxury? If you could help us quantify on that aspect.
So I think what the information that is incorrect is we're not operating between the 2 and 20 crore. We're more like between the 1 and 5 crore is which our sweet spot is. And, depending on the project, which is if it's a 10x is maybe 2, 2.5, 3 crores. If you take a address by GS, it could be 3, 4, 5 crores, somewhere there. So, but that's really our sweet spot. We aren't going over that. Yes, we did sell a few apartments for 15 to 20 crores, but those were Jodis and duplexes, but there were only like 2 or 3 of them. So that's really not an area we're operating in.
Okay. So again, what you're saying is premium luxury is not something that Raymond Realty will really focus on as well. One of projects is something which could be varied. But apart from that, if you have to look at the overall business aspect, you've mentioned about the kind of revenue potential you're seeing in terms of growth. From a margin perspective, and if you have to look at return on equity and the return on capital employed, taking into consideration you're going to have an asset-light model from here on, your balance sheet is expected to remain net debt zero as well because of this. Where do you see the ROEs moving?
Well, we hopefully it'll grow because all our future growth will all now come from JDA models. We're hoping to see healthy margins between 20 and 22%. So, and we're a zero-rate company, so we should see good growth.
And Mr. Singhania, taking MMR as a region, absolute.
Okay, you can see more of that interview ahead in the day on NDTV Profit, but for now, Raymond Realty in focus. Though I must say the stock of the day is undoubtedly a company called Alembic Pharma. What a move through the day. Now, here's what's happened. It's received a key approval from the US FDA for a vaccine that treats ovarian cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Varsha, the resident expert on all things pharma, with more details.
Yeah, thank you for that. So yes, you have rightly pointed out that the company has received an US FDA nod for an ovarian cancer injection. Now, the name of the injection is hydrochloride liposome injection. Now, the estimated market size, which is actually the highlighting point over here, stands at around $29 million as of March 2025. So this is the kind of opportunity that Alembic Pharma has in future. Now, the important point is, in the last 1 month, company has got few key drug approvals, which is gonna help company to grow. Now, they got an approval for an cancer tablets, wherein the market size stands at around $291 million. The other drug, that is rivaroxaban tablets, which reduces the risk of major cardiovascular events in patient. The market size over here is $445 million. The next drug that they've got approval from US FDA, which reduces the risk of cardiovascular, that has a market size of around $1,000 million. So these are all the key drug approvals in the last 1 month, which company has got approval from the US FDA, which also is helping company to grow in near future. Also, their API manufacturing facility in Gujarat received EIR from US FDA with 0 observation. So one of the good things that the pharma company can get, that your facility has got 0 observation. That means no regulatory issue from US FDA. The inspection was conducted from March 17 to March 21, 2025. Now, on the outlook, what this company will look like, in next 2 to 3 years. One is that new peptide block got commissioned, that is your GLP-1 products, that is anti-diabetic and anti-obesity, which every pharma company is going into. Alembic Pharma will also benefit from this segment. They're going to have 15 launches planned for US in FY26, and they're confident of double-digit growth when it comes to US, India, and rest of the world for FY26. And lastly, US pricing pressure is one of the headwinds that the company has also accepted, but this will be offset by volume growth and the new launches that the company has in FY26 and FY27. So overall, the ovarian cancer drug approval is one of the reasons why a company is buzzing in trade today specifically. But overall, if you see, company has got a lot of products in the pipeline, and also in the last 1 month has got a lot of approvals which will help company to grow in future.
Thank you so much for that, Varsha. 10% move on an Alembic as a result of that. Siddharth, let me come straight to you with regard to an Alembic. What's the sense like on this one? The kind of move that it's made today, justified? Because essentially they've disclosed around a 30 crore odd market size, which roughly takes it to around 10% of its top line, 10% of its market cap, I beg your pardon, currently.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, the opportunity size is not that strong, but what I think market is enthusiastic is by the approvals that a company like Alembic has been able to get, and that could lead to, as Varsha was highlighting, a lot of new product pipelines are there in the US market. So basically, I think what the street is now expecting is that it could mean that the other product approvals could also come by, and hence the positivity. Yes, overall we also feel that the stock price has definitely run up, and we'll need to wait and watch for the other product development, because it is focusing on enhancing its US market offerings as well as in the domestic market also. The DF that segment is also witnessing a steady stable growth. Overall, what we were expecting earlier is about 23% earnings CAGR, and I think there could be some upside as and when the new product approvals from the US come in.
Okay. Siddharth, in pharma, you talked about Alembic. That's looking interesting. So is Aurobindo today. And let's just pull up Aurobindo Pharma as well. They've restarted the production, or they've got permissions to restart the production of the penicillin G. Is this something that you would look at, Oro Pharma and the entire pharma space right now, especially ahead of July 9th? If we're thinking that this is going to be a positive outcome, would it be good to build positions here?
I think it's Tamanna, very difficult to give a call just based on an event, because we have heard a couple of times the US president talking about special taxes on pharma imports, but that has yet not been done. So that overhang continues to remain. In the current environment, what we definitely like the CDMO players, the domestic focused pharma players, and the healthcare companies. I would still be a little skeptical in the near term to play the US generic companies, given the overhang of the July 9th deadline, plus the talks of a specialized or other special rates, tariff rates on pharma companies. So clearly, to avoid that noise, focus on CDMO players, the likes of DVs, Laurus, and Indian domestic formulation based players to a large extent, and then some of the healthcare players like an Apollo Hospitals or a Max Healthcare.
Okay, Apollo Max is something you'd look at. Himen, what about you? I don't know if you give your take on Alembic, but Alembic, Oro, and that whole lot. Are you seeing any strength on the charts?
Alembic, Tamanna, went from what 1300 to 720, almost became half. Currently, intermediate uptrend looks good. As of now, it looks like a bounce, a recovery, but the volume picture obviously today seems to suggest that something nicely positive is happening. So I would be bullish, but yeah, if it has gone up from 920 to 1110 and five trading sessions, so it's already cooled off intraday point of view, I'd be more comfortable getting it below 1030, Tamanna.
Alembic at 1030 as your stop loss, is that right?
No, I'd buy it around there because
you'd buy it there. Okay. That's if you get that opportunity right now. All right, let's take a look at what else is buzzing today. Quite a few buzzers on the radar. Vansh is joining us with more.
Right. So the first one on the radar is the Waaree Energy. The stock is up 5% in trade today. They have got an international order for supply of 540 megawatt of solar modules. So the order is from a US-based operator of utility-scale solar projects. So the order will be executed in two parts. 270 megawatts of solar modules will be supplied in 2025, while the remaining 270 megawatts will be supplied in 2027 and 2028. The second on the list is ITD Cementation. The stock is up almost 85% in the past 2 months. They have won international marine contracts worth rupees 580 odd crores. The order is for a jetty construction works for a Ruwailis LNG project in Abu Dhabi. And with this also, it is important to note that ITD Cement concluded its FY25 order book with 18,300 odd crores. Third one on the list is Zentech. The company has secured patent for innovation in laser-based content training. The patent represents the company's 82nd patent globally. And this innovation integrates a visible infrared laser into a single output. This patent will lead to improvement in the accuracy, realism and durability of the combat simulators. So this patent will bring innovation and will boost Zen Technologies' export opportunities. So these are the stocks to be kept on radar today.
Nice for that, Vansh. So interesting names out there. Some of the defense names showing some spike, but otherwise, remember last week, defense was one sector which was sulking in trade. Siddharth, there is a note that you guys have come out with on PSUs, right? That how the PSU index multiples are now a lot more reasonable than the peak, even if they have rallied a little bit from the Feb levels. So my question to you is, are you in favor of either the PSU banks, which have been told now to lend more aggressively, or any of the defense names or railway names? Actually, not railway, most are private, but at least defense or PSU banks or some others. And is there anything worth buying here in this bucket?
Yeah, Neeraj, I think it's an interesting note that we came out with, specifically looking at the entire public sector enterprises as a segment. And what we see is that while last year, first half, we saw a slowdown due to elections, weak consumption, but what we witnessed over the last couple of quarters is a gradual recovery driven by not only the government spending picking up, order books going up. This year, we are seeing the low interest rate, favorable monsoon, plus defense has been the favorite last couple of months. So across the themes, across the several sectors within the public sector enterprises, what we like, definitely the public sector banks, financials, is the go-to theme for this year, driven largely by what RBI has done in terms of increasing liquidity into the system, cutting the rates as well as the CRR. So SBI is our preferred pick. It is one of our top PSU ideas. We have a target price of 925 there. Defense is another space within the public sector enterprises. We continue to like both HAL and BEL, while some of the other power and industrials that we like from the public sector space is Power Grid with a target price of 386 and Coal India with a target price of 480.
Okay, Power Grid, Coal India on the radar. You know, we also spoke about Wari in that list. Wari, ITD and Zentech. Any of them that you're looking at, Himesh?
I think Zentech, Tamanna, looks quite interesting. We've had a beautiful run-up. We've had a time price correction. Now is getting set to stage the next leg of its up move. So I'd say buy with a stop loss of 1875 looks good.
I mean, what about Wari though? I mean, it's a very interesting move. It's not a very large order fundamentally, by the way, but the fact that it's in the US probably adds some meat to it. But 6.5% today.
Well, Neeraj, don't track it closely because there's new listing. Not too much of data to look at, honestly.
Okay, Siddharth, do you have coverage here on Wari? Can you talk about it?
So, Neeraj, we don't have coverage, but I think what you're saying is right. The market was kind of concerned about the way US president was talking about going through the legacy energy and were not in favor of some of these renewable energy, but getting orders, especially from a US company. I think that is something that the street is definitely liking. Again, the tariff policies will come out. I think that should be favorable for Indian companies, especially some of the companies like Wari, Premier, who have set up a plant in US to circumvent this tariff policy. But definitely a key overhang remains the US policy, which is not in favor of renewables as of now.
Okay. You know, Wari's turnaround, if it all, can be very interesting as well. Again, I know you'll say July 9th one event is not what we can put in place, but the fact is that Wari has been down in the dumps because of the Trump government's policy and the Trump administration's policy. If they seeming to break through there, it'll be an interesting stock to watch. Anyway, let's move on to the bull versus bear candidate this afternoon. We're talking about CarTrade in focus. The company is seeing growth. Strong growth led by OLX. On the flip side, valuations could be expensive. Puneet joining in for more.
Well, thanks so much for that. So let me just first look at what the company actually does, because it does operate in 3 different verticals. Consumers, remarketing is what they call it, and the third key vertical is OLX. Now within consumers, they operate these specific brands, which is in the classifieds portal. Essentially, if you go to a website for discovery, for example, if you go to carwale.com, go for a discovery of a car that you want to know a little bit more about, they get paid via the ads because of your visits. That's about the company. Now, OLX, of course, comes in a different vertical because while apart from auto, it has also started a used marketplace, which is effectively a very big growth vertical for the company. But let's now look at this aspect and continue with our bull versus bear segment as well, because OLX now has roughly about 31% share in the used product space, and they've integrated other verticals as well. And this is, of course, as per our latest presentation which the company made a couple of days ago, and that's where the bullish momentum has started to happen. In terms of Q4 though, the revenue growth for OLX was only 10% versus the larger consumer business, which grew at 33%. And that it essentially indicates that while this business is a cash cow, the growth rate could be split between some quarters where it could have higher growth as well. But when you look at the company's market share, OLX could be one of the next big growth verticals for someone like a CarTrade. When you look at the second bull and bear case, that's largely a very, very stupendous growth in FY25. Over a 90% revenue growth in FY25 is what the company recorded, and a 6x growth in terms of profits. And that's largely led by the OLX business as well. From roughly about 35 crore loss last year, it swung into profits of almost 46 crores. And that's helped the company boost its profit by 6x. In terms of auto vertical though, where the company largely gets its discovery and the classified portal revenue from, that is expected to have just 0 to 5% growth for the auto vertical as a whole. And maybe essentially people are not trying to buy new cars or new bikes, and they wouldn't go and discover if they don't want to buy them. So essentially that growth could be hampered going forward, is something to watch out for, and that's the second bear case. The third one is on cash. On a market cap of 8,140 crores currently, the company has a cash of 950 crores and is looking to build on this going forward. And it's something that we talk about companies like Info Edge as well, where they have really high cash balance and they're generating cash every quarter. It's similar to something that for CarTrade as well. But the monthly active users have declined in Q4 by 9% compared to the previous quarter, and it's something that we need to have a watch out for. Now the final point, and here's where the valuation comes in as well. It's a little tricky to compare CarTrade because it does not have a direct competitor. You could compare it with someone like an Info Edge because of the portals, but essentially it's in a very niche space on its own. So on an EV of EBITDA of 37 times for FY26 could be a little premium. And with the last year, the stock is up 120%. So a lot of the positives are currently in the price, but Nomura sees the company as a key beneficiary of the auto advertising digitization that's happening. Essentially that you moved to websites as well as the internet to discover new vehicle purchases. So that's where the growth is coming from. But valuations is something to watch out for CarTrade. But the OLX business definitely is a key positive for the company.
Okay. That's the story with CarTrade, and the OLX business is what's pushing it. The stock up today in trade, and this is not a stock which is usually in focus per se. So interesting to be able to look at it in so much detail. Is this something that you're tracking, Siddharth? CarTrade?
So, Tamanna, we don't have coverage or view on CarTrade.
Okay. Now let's talk a bit about the auto space, because you're going to see sales numbers coming in tomorrow. And we are seeing maybe retail numbers have shown a downtick last few months. Are you looking at any movements or any opportunities ahead of the numbers that we'll see tomorrow?
I think if you look at sub-segments, tractors is the only segment where we could see some strong growth and numbers, and especially M&M, which has been consistently outperforming in terms of industry growth. Apart from that, I think numbers are expected to remain a bit sluggish. We are yet to see pickup, a strong pickup in either the passenger vehicles or the two-wheelers segment. The other company I think one can focus on in this market is TVS Motors, consistently gaining share in the two-wheelers EV space. I think that is the one that we would keep an eye on, M&M and TVS Motors.
Okay. What about you, Himen, in the auto space?
I'd agree with Siddharth. I think M&M looks great.
I said it correct.
I think M&M has shown significant resilience and looks like heading towards 4,000. The other stocks that I like is Escorts Kubota. Hasn't done much from the base, good about 3,600. So M&M is the easier one, which I think is a slightly longer term point of view. But Escorts also looks good enough, Tamanna.
Okay, so M&M and Escorts will be top picks. So the focus clearly on tractors. Siddharth, thank you so much for speaking with us and joining in today. All right, welcoming in Amrish Baliga as well, independent market analyst with us on the show. Amrish, very good afternoon to you. It's seeming like a kind of a pause and a breather being taken in the market today. Are you seeing this as a trend that will continue, very stock specific kind of a movement?
Yeah, see, I mean, technically speaking, although I don't talk much of technicals, but this time I would, because 25,200 for the Nifty was a very, very strong resistance level. And once that was crossed decisively, we have seen a lot of momentum buying happening, a bit of a FOMO coming in, because there are a lot of people who sold off. I'm talking of HNIs. Who sold off because of the geopolitical issues, especially around Operation Sindoor, and post that when the Iraq Iran issue happened. So at that point of time, a lot of people sold off. I think they didn't get the levels to buy back. So that FOMO effect also came in. So I think now decisively we are in an uptrend. And in this uptrend, we'll see some corrections here and there. So, for what we are seeing today is that sort of a small correction happening, which I think should be taken should be taken as a buying opportunity, especially for traders.
Okay. We've been talking about auto and what is expected from the numbers. The June auto sales numbers will be out tomorrow and we'll see some impact of that. What's expected, Puneet? What's the preview looking like?
Well, it's expected to be a mixed month, but we're going to see a very, very strong growth for all the two-wheeler makers in this particular month, followed by a decent growth for the tractor makers as well. But largely, that is expected to be the key highlights. In terms of cars, it's expected to be a subdued month yet again with only one key winner, and there's no prizes for guessing that. But let's look at the two-wheeler space first, because we've seen really strong growth expected for someone like a TVS, and a 23% growth was expected in this particular month. Now, growth for the two-wheelers is largely led by a couple of factors. One's, of course, the positive rural consumer sentiment, as well as what's happened in the marriage season, the fag end of something in the month of May, as well as followed up in June as well. So those couple of factors are positive for someone like a TVS, and that's reflected in the data. The other key winner here is Eicher Motors, and that's consistent. That's visible in the company's strength of clocking 80,000 units a month, visible again in this month as well. The only caveat though will be what's happening with ABS norms. Once those comes in 2026, we might see some impact on Hero as well as something like a Bajaj Auto as well, but largely a lot on Hero as well as some impact on TVS because of the scooter share. But it's something definitely to watch out for. In terms of car makers, again, Mahindra is expected to show mid-teens growth, almost 18% on a YY basis, while all the other car makers are expected to be impacted in this particular month, and that's largely because of muted sentiment within the passenger car space. We've also seen the discounts rising, the inquiries are falling, and those two things should actually be in the other direction, and that's not going to be helpful for the car makers as well. So definitely just see, and we're seeing that kind of impact already in Maruti Suzuki's share price today, almost down 2.5%. So maybe the street preempting some of those fall in sales in this month. In terms of commercial vehicles as well as tractors, like look at CV first, it's expected to be just a flat month. We haven't seen much growth coming in for other players as well, and that's continuing for the last 12 to 14 months. Selective financing by NBFCs as well as vehicle financing companies is hurting the industry. The only caveat is that the e-way bill generation, as one of the key metrics that we track, has been doing very well in terms is increasing month on month. So that will be something to watch out for going forward in FY26. Finally, in terms of tractors, Mahindra expected to outperform Escorts, and that's largely visible in this month. The key aspect for tractors is that a very favorable ways as well as good monsoon could impact growth very positively in the second half. So the three key winners, or the ones to watch out for, will be TVS, Eicher as well as Mahindra, and we could see some positive surprise for Escorts, but that will be something to watch out for.
Okay, thanks a lot, and certainly data that we'll pore over and ponder over when the numbers start coming tomorrow, because remember, it's also not been a quarter that is really embellished itself as a very strong one, but maybe, just maybe, has a favorable base to itself, and the upcoming one too could have that. Now, Amrish, it's a sector too that's been kind of hit by a number of events. Is there a favorite here as a vertical, maybe two-wheelers, maybe car makers, maybe CVs, and within that bucket, what do you like, if you can talk about it? Good afternoon, of course.
Yeah, good afternoon. Among these, I think two-wheelers is the one which could possibly buck the trend, because even for this month, clearly we're expecting some sort of a flat, not negative, but flat sales for two-wheelers. Whereas you will see some of the components out there. For example, TVS could in fact see an 18% sort of a growth. Royal Enfield could see about 22% growth, whereas we could see a decline as far as Bajaj is concerned because of the domestic volumes. But I think that may be offset by the exports as far as Bajaj is concerned. And when we're talking of Passenger cars, I think the decline would be led by Tata Motors and Hyundai, whereas and as well as Maruti, where we see a 3% decline. I think M&M is the one which may buck the trend, may show a 15% Y-on-Y growth. When it comes to CVs, again, we see M&M really bucking the growth, possibly, showing about 8% growth Y-on-Y, whereas we may see Tata Motors showing a negative sort of a growth. So I think overall in this space, I think Mahindra & Mahindra would be the one to stand out because even the tractor segment is expected to do well. So, my pick in this space would be Mahindra & Mahindra, whereas I think Tata Motors overall, both passenger vehicles as well as CVs, could be seeing a decline. So I think Tata Motors could see some sort of a pressure coming in.
Okay. The other one which is buzzing in trade as well today is Sigachi Industries. It's down over 11% on the back of the reactor blast and some damage done there as well. My colleague at NDTV, Uma Sudhir, brings you an on-ground report from the reactor blast in Sigachi's Telangana facility. Take a look.
A terrible industrial accident that happened at around 9:18 this morning at Sigachi Industries, which is a very old unit, more than 30-year-old unit, we are told, which is in Pashamailaram in the Sangareddy district, about 2 hours away from Hyderabad. And what you're seeing is a visual of a multi-storied structure that has actually collapsed after a reactor blast. There are 2 reactors and both of them have actually collapsed. One of them had blasted, after which the people who are trapped inside were unable to come out. What the police have told us is that 8 people have died and 26 people have been shifted to hospital. 4 of them are said to be in a serious condition, and the worry is that the administrative block as well, there were at least 10 people who were trapped inside, is what we are being told, and their rescue has become a problem. This is a narrow lane, as you can see, and the ambulances coming in because the rescue operation has not yet been completed, and whoever is trapped inside, they are trying to take them out, but with the 4-story structure almost collapsing, and also because there is a tremendous amount of heat, they are finding it difficult to remove the debris and find people inside. These people would have had their cell phones, but some of them had deposited it in the office. But how many people were exactly there, even that has become difficult to find, because the people who are handling the staff attendance, those people are part of the administrative staff, and even they are suspected to be trapped under the debris.
Okay. So Sigachi Industries, of course, down 11% on the back of that. Is this something that you find interesting, Ambrish? Sigachi on a day like this, of course, in deep trouble, and I know it's a small company in relative terms, just 1,800 crore in terms of market cap, but you find this one interesting?
Especially in the view of what's happened today, I think it's better to wait and watch because we need to see as to how long they will take to come out of this, and the sort of, in case of any losses, you never know as to how much is covered, how much is not. So I think instead of jumping in just because the stock is corrected based on this incident, I think it's better to wait for a while and understand where there can be holes as far as this company is concerned.
Ambrish, 2 stocks that I wanted to quickly have your view on. One is a Force Motors. Let's pull that one up. It's done phenomenally well, and let's pull up the intraday, 11% higher today. And even when we look at the 3-month chart, if we can quickly pull that one up, it's given very strong gains to investors. So Force Motors is one. SML Isuzu is the other one. Look at that, 77% in the last 3 months. Let's pull up an SML Isuzu as well. And again, phenomenal returns that it's given. It's up 3% again today, but again, over the last 3 months or so, the stock has given very strong returns, 34%. Both within the auto pack. Ambrish, is this a multi-year re-rating story of sorts, and would you participate at this point because valuation is not looking particularly expensive?
Yeah, that's true. But then the way it has already run up, at this point of time, I will not really, buy Force. And the other one, I'm not really, tracking very closely. But Force at this point of time, at 16,000 levels, I'll not buy fresh. I'll possibly wait for a correction to happen.
Okay, a few stocks that are buzzing this afternoon. Let's just get a quick view from our guests on this. We've spoken about some of them with Himen, but Amrish, Raymond, the demerger tomorrow, at least the listing happens, takes place for Raymond Realty. Now, Realty already a buzzing space. Raymond Realty will add to it. The stock is up today ahead of the demerger. Any thoughts here on the Raymond stock as well as then the demerged entity?
Raymond's, the one which is listed, I think it's hardly tracked by people. Especially post the lifestyle demerger as well as the real estate demerger. So, if you look at it in detail, I think the business is extremely good. In fact, they are ancillaries to aerospace, defense, and they are, in fact, the precision engineering partners for a number of these companies. And they have leadership position in steel files, about 25% of global market share. In the ring business, they have a 10% global market share. And if you look at the sort of customers, Adani Defense, Safran, Honeywell, Pratt & Whitney, these are the sort of customers they have. And if you look at FY25 standalone Raymond's, the listed entity, the revenue has doubled to about 1824 crores with about 13% EBITDA margins. So expecting a 15% sort of a revenue growth, at least for the next 3 years, EBITDA should grow by 15-20%. So I think, despite the sort of a move which we have seen, I'm not saying we should go in and buy right now because the stock has moved quite a lot today. But I think on a correction, one should be looking to buy this. And if you're talking of Raymond Realty, which should get listed now, I think this is one stock which has an extremely good position as far as the Thane belt is concerned, about 25% market share. And that's one belt which we are seeing there's a huge growth, again, because of the new airport coming up in Navi Mumbai. So I think this is the other stock what should be looking at. But again, depends on at what levels it gets listed. Because both the companies put together was valued at about 10,000, 11,000 crores before the demerger. So one needs to see as to at what levels it gets listed.
How, are you looking at this space closely, Himen, and other realty players as well? You can add that input.
I think I am if you look at the Nifty Realty Index, Tamanna, I am positive and will remain positive for the next year or so. So whether it's Prestige or even a Hubtown or Shobha or anything, I think anything with realty looks good. Even Lodha looks nice. I believe Lodha would be heading towards 1900. So take your pick. I'm positive on all of those. I'm not talking about the relatively unknown ones, but the bigger ones, well-known ones. Maybe something like Oberoi and Godrej have run up, but overall, if you look at the index, it's in a 1 year up move, and currently we are in a small cool off. Even DLF, Tamanna. So frankly, think everything looks good.
Amazing. Everything looks good on realty to Himen.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a sector that got beaten down.
Yeah.
And today, Himen is liking the charts. Now, just before you get BTST, interesting announcement there. One doesn't know the revenue implication of this, but HCL Tech has signed a multi-year collaboration with OpenAI to drive enterprise scale AI. Now, you would expect IT software companies to have tie-ups like these. OpenAI is right in the thick of things. Maybe this is a positive for HCL Tech. Let's see. It is a positive for HCL Tech. Whether or not there is a large implication on deal wins remains to be seen. The stock not reacting too much really. Okay, Himen, maybe you gave your BTST, but if not, a BTST idea if you will first, and then I want to chart view on RBL Bank, of course, but first a BTST idea or STBT as the case may be.
Yeah, BTST on IEX. At 192, stop loss 190, target 196. So it's closing over the 55-day moving average today. Intraday oscillators are given a buy, and even the daily oscillators are given a buy.
Himen, the risk reward is skewed towards the downside, right? 193 half currently. Your target is 196. Your stop loss is 190.
Okay, it's moved up $1 from the time I gave it, so it's probably 193, 191, and 197 now, Neeraj.
Okay, that kind of a target. Himen, the other one is RBL Bank. There was a lot of calls this morning on this one. Cities open a positive catalyst watch. The stock is ending up 4% higher. Is there more in store?
Well, frankly speaking, it is. There is more, but it's gone from 150 to 250. So yeah, but there's still headroom because this has been a perennial underperformer for 4 years. I think there's a competition between Bandhan and RBL Bank to underperform. But frankly speaking, after years, both of them have turned the corner, at least technically speaking. So yes, RBL good. I think 300 is where we run into a roadblock, but otherwise good.
What about ITI? ITI buzzing, they've got this massive deal with BharatNet, BSNL for BharatNet as well. That stock, that's why you're seeing that sharp spike there, now about 5% up. But I'll take a view actually from Amrish first because this seems to be at a 5% circuit. The whole BharatNet rollout is going to see a lot of vendors coming in, and do you think ITI could be an interesting story?
Yeah, possibly. And with the sort of order wins which they are having, I think we can see some more upside. I mean, I'll not be surprised if we see levels of about 420, 430 for this stock decently soon.
Okay, so ITI in focus, Hemant, something that you look at?
ITI looks good, Tamanna, frankly speaking. It's just given a breakout of sorts today. The volume isn't that gratifying, but even then, it's a breakout nevertheless. So I'd say looks good. We are heading towards 370, Tamanna.
Let's take a look at some of those rail stocks as well. So rail is one place which hasn't really been moving, but we had an interesting conversation today with Tex Maco about the new orders they've bagged, and that too these are orders in Australia. So we spoke with the management, Sudipta Mukherjee, telling us about the company's export portfolio, also talking about how they are aiming to have 30% of their revenues come in from exports.
The rolling stock division, the component and casting, the foundry division, and the rail infra division. All of these combined were in a range of 10% portfolio of the export market. But we want to take it to 30% at least of our total top line. These are, of course, a consciously chosen market because this is a technology and product specific and customer specific deliverables with a long-term association. So we definitely look forward for higher EBITDA margins. And in the top line, of course, on an immediate term, we may our target is to have a decent, say, 15-20% growth projection.
Okay, so that's of course Tex Maco. But you know, the other set of counters which are really doing well today is the PSU banking counters, Tamanna. And it's essentially because there is a likely value unlocking at play here. You had the finance ministry come in, give some kind of roadway into what they want PSU banks to do over the next decade, which is to unlock value in their subsidiaries. And you're seeing the zing on some of those counters, not a single counter sitting in the red. Amrish, how significant do you see this as in terms of a development? And do you believe that that large value unlocking opportunity could be big and could be monumental of sorts within this PSU banking index constituents?
Absolutely. I think that's what most of the private sector has done through demergers, through IPOs of their subsidiaries. I think, I mean, that's just waiting to happen as far as the PSU space is concerned, but then it needed that clear go-ahead from the ministry. And if that is coming, I think it should be very positive for most of these banks, especially the larger PSU banks. I mean, I would talk of banks like SBI, BOB, PNB. I think these are the ones where there is a value unlocking waiting to happen.
No, so my question though is, yes, theoretically all of this sounds good, but the kind of run-up we're seeing today, Amrish, there is no timeline. This is basis reports of a meeting that the finance minister has had with PSU banks heads. We know that there is a lot of this value unlocking that we've been hearing about and talking about for years. Would you have a trade right now on PSU banks? And does the run-up today make any sense?
Yeah, see, based on news or rumors, you should never buy. But just keep that in mind and possibly use that news or rumor to buy when the stock or the sector corrects, because nothing is going to happen overnight as far as this is concerned. But buy on the PSU banks otherwise is basically because of the sort of a credit growth which we are going to see over the next 2 to 3 quarters, especially post that surprise cut of 50 basis points. I think we should see that action over the next 2 quarters. So from that point of view, whenever there's a correction, I think one should be looking to buy into the PSU banks, as well as the private sector banks, the larger ones.
Top PSU bank pick, Himen, if any?
Someone, I wish I could make a basket of the Nifty PSU bank index, because I think 80% of, I stick my neck out, 80% of all PSU bank stocks will make a new high in the next 12 to 15 months. So take your pick. I think PNB looks good. I think even Can Bank looks good. State Bank, Indian Bank, any PSU bank worth its salt is looking good, Tamanna.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us and giving us all of those views this afternoon. It's been a pleasure having you and having those thoughts. But let's quickly look at how the Nifty is shaping up at close. We're around 0.5% thereabouts lower on the Nifty 50. We're in around the 25,500 mark. Nothing to complain about given the kind of rally that we've seen last week, or on the back of which we're seeing this kind of move on a Monday. 0.25% or lower on the Nifty banking index, and that's probably one of the reasons for the bit of drag that we're seeing on the Nifty 50 index. Let's pull up the heat map, and that will give us better context. You have a few stocks doing well, a Trent, a BEL and SBI standing out. PSU banks have had a particularly good day in trade today. IndusInd is one of those in the private sector which has had a solid day of trade, 1.8% higher on a day like this. In terms of consumer, look at Trent, 3% higher, but look at Tata Consumer, 2.5% lower in trade. Some of the private sector banks, auto names dominate the top losers, and then you have the heavyweight Reliance Industries down 1% in trade, which is what's dragging the index lower. Let's look at the contributors as well, and you'll likely see that an HDFC or Reliance are among the top 4 in terms of top contributors in terms of losers, and ICICI Axis are the other 2. So it's private sector banks and the heavyweight Reliance which is dragging the index lower. But that being said, it's a completely different story on the broader end. Let's look at the advanced decline, and we'll see that the advanced decline slightly better than 1:1 it's 1.5:1 in fact in favor of the advances, and the Nifty mid cap and small cap indices have actually done much better and are trading in a completely different market. It seems 0.2% higher on the Nifty mid cap, 0.9% higher on the Nifty small cap in trade today. We've closed for the day. Let's look at sectors as well. And again, while a predominant number of sectors trade in the red, you're still seeing quite a bit of zing. The Nifty IT doing well, Pharma doing well, PSU banking just standing out, and the Nifty India Defence having yet another very, very good day of trade. What's not doing well? While a lot of sectors are sitting in the red, there's nothing majorly in the negative outside of the Nifty private sector banking index, which is down around 0.9%. Auto, Realty are the other laggards, but just about 0.5% odd lower on both of those. Metals also down around 0.5% odd, and largely in line with how the Nifty 50 has traded during the day today. Let's look at the BSE 500 top gainers, top losers, and get some texture around that. And you'll see Raymond has done extremely well. You'll have Raymond Realty listing tomorrow. So 14% higher on a Raymond. A City Union Bank has flown away as well. Bank of Maharashtra among the PSU banks, one of the top gainers there, 5% higher, and a Chola Holdings also there. ITI on the back of an order win, and Alkylamines is also up 5% odd in trade. So doing very, very well. JB Chemicals on the back of that big deal is down 6% odd. Home First is the other one which is down 4% lower on a Jindal, a JK Cement also, and then you have a Macrotech, and the Realty basket was anyway slightly muted today, so that's one of the names sitting in the red. Now let's look at cues to watch out for tomorrow, and you'll have the India IIP data coming through, the industrial production data coming. You'll have JSW Infra, those adjustments for dividend, and Cera Sanitary, and you'll have exit to anchor lock-in. Unimec and RBZ Jewelers will be in focus for trade tomorrow. So those are some names you want to keep in mind. But completely out of time on this edition of India Market Close. From Tamanna, Neeraj, myself, everyone who puts the show together, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit. More action on the other side.
imports become the exception rather than the norm. And increasingly we do almost, last year for example, of the contracts that we signed of record 2,09,000 crores, 81% was awarded to the domestic industry. Our intent is to manufacture in India, preferably with design also in India.
I am so elated to be on the same screen as the Defense Secretary, and I get a chance to talk about what he said.
In certain areas, like for example, artillery guns and armored vehicles, or in some categories of missiles like the BrahMos and the Akash, we've come of age.
What Defense Secretary Sir said is 100% true, and today private industry can really increase their involvement in R&D.
I am very proud to say that we make, in our categories that we have been supplying to our defense forces, some of the best platforms in the world.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold ICICI for the long term? Buy.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Market Express and I'm your host Himakshi Bahugna. Now let's get straight into the show. US market starts the week on a negative note. Both Nifty and Sensex end in the red. More than 27 Nifty 50 stocks close on a negative note today. And good day for Nifty PSU banks and defense. Nifty IT also ends in green. Tough day for Nifty Realty and finance. Autopack also in red ahead of June auto sales data. NLC India has secured a major 450 megawatt wind solar hybrid power project from NTPC, marking a significant step in its renewable energy expansion. The project will be developed across two locations, 300 megawatt in Bikaner, Rajasthan and 150 megawatt in Bhuj, Gujarat. Now, under a 25-year power purchase agreement, NLC India will supply hybrid power generated from this interstate transmission system connected project. Now, the full power supply is scheduled to commence within 24 months from the effective date of the agreement. Also, NLC's arm NIRL has won a 250 megawatt is to 500 megawatt per hour battery storage order from Tamil Nadu Generation and Distribution Corporation Limited. Titagarh Rail Systems has won a 430 crore contract from Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation for the supply of 12 additional train sets for the Pune Metro Rail project. Now, the scope includes design, manufacture, supply, testing, commissioning of electrical multiple units and training of personnel. Now, the project is scheduled for completion within 30 months. Now, this order actually comes as the Union Cabinet recently approved the second phase of Pune Metro, which spans 12.75 km with 13 stations across two elevated corridors. Cochin Shipyard has secured a notable order valued between 100 to 250 crore from Polestar Maritime Limited to build two powerful 70-ton bollard pull tugs. Now, these vessels designed by globally renowned Robert Allen Limited will be jointly constructed by Cochin Shipyard and its wholly owned subsidiary Udupi Cochin Shipyard at the Cochin Yard. Now, each tug will be powered by twin 1838 kilowatt engines and 2.7 meter propellers supplied by Nigata IHI Power Systems of Japan. Now, scheduled for delivery in May and September 2027, this order adds to Polestar's existing contract for 3 similar tugs with Udupi CSL. Ahluwalia Contracts has announced significant new contracts in the residential sector, totaling approximately 1,104 crore rupees. Now, these awards include two major housing projects bolstering the company's presence in India's residential infrastructure market. The first contract, valued at 821 crore rupees, was awarded by Whiteland Corporation
and this is for the urban resort residential development in Gurugram, which involves the construction of 7 residential towers. This project is slated for completion within 36 months. The second project, worth 283 crore rupees, is for a group housing project named The Beacon in Bengaluru, awarded by a joint venture between Nestled Haven Estates Private Limited and MAIA Estates Private Limited. This project actually is focusing on civil structure and architectural finishing, and is expected to be completed within 32 months. ITD Cementation India has won a major international marine contract worth approximately 580 crore rupees for jetty construction works at the Ruwais LNG project in Abu Dhabi. Now, the contract strengthens the company's position in global marine infrastructure sector and is part of its regular business operations. The Ruwais LNG facility is a significant energy project in the region with key stakeholders including ADNOC, Mitsui, Shell and Total Energies. Now, following this win, ITD Cementation shares surged over 4%, reflecting strong investor confidence. This order adds to the company's growing portfolio alongside recent domestic wins worth 960 crore rupees. Tata Steel has received a goods and services tax demand notice worth 1,007 crore rupees for the financial year of 2018 to 19 and from 2022 to 2023 related to alleged irregularities in the availment of input tax credit. Now, the company has already paid 514 crore rupees in the GST during this period, leaving a net exposure of about 493 crore rupees. Tata Steel has also stated that notice lacks merit and plans to legally challenge it. The company also confirmed that there is no impact on its financial or operational activities from this notice. Tata Steel has been asked to respond to the tax authorities within 30 days. VRL Logistics is set to hold a board meeting on July 4 of 2025 to consider issuing bonus shares to its shareholders, marking the company's first ever bonus issue. The proposal actually involves capitalizing on the company's reserves and retained profits to reward existing investors. With additional shares at no extra cost, the record date for this bonus issue will be announced later, and only shareholders holding stock before the ex-date will be eligible. This move underscores VRL Logistics' confidence in its future growth and aims to enhance earnings per share and paid-up capital. Hind Rectifiers has secured a significant supply order of 127 crore rupees from Indian Railways, scheduled for execution by FY27. Now, this actually follows another 101 crore order won just days earlier, bringing the company's total recent railway order wins to 228 crore rupees. The orders are domestic supply contracts governed by Indian Railways, terms and conditions, and now with no related party involvement. Hind Rectifiers, a key player in railway traction and power electronics, reported a strong FY25 with a report order book of 893 crore rupees. Zen Technologies has secured its 54th Indian patent titled Single ILU Long Pass Filter, marking a significant breakthrough in laser-based military training technology. This innovation enables the seamless integration of visible and infrared laser beams into a single stable output, enhancing the accuracy, realism, and responsiveness of combat training simulators. Unlike traditional systems that rely on separate beams and face alignment and durability challenges, Zen's compact and rugged filter reduces recalibration and maintenance needs, making it ideal for harsh field conditions. This patent is the company's 82nd globally, strengthens Zen's advanced training solutions portfolio as well. In a 19,101 crore mega deal, Torrent Pharma is acquiring a 49.2% stake in JB Chemicals from private equity giant KKR. The transaction, one of India's largest pharma moves in a decade, also includes a 26% open offer and sets the stage for a full merger. JB shares dip over 6% post-announcement, while Torrent trades are steady. Structural solutions player InterArc has clinched twin orders totaling 157 crores. Now, it will design, manufacture and erect pre-engineered steel buildings for Amara Raja Infra and Ather Energy. The project is set for completion in 8 and 9 months respectively. Viewers will slip into a short break and we'll be right back with the Market Express.
Imports become the exception rather than the norm, and increasingly we do almost last year, for example, of the contracts that we signed of record 2,09,000 crores, 81% was awarded to the domestic industry. Our intent is to manufacture in India, preferably with design also in India.
I am so elated to be on the same screen as the Defense Secretary, and I get a chance to talk about what he said.
In certain areas, like for example, artillery guns and armored vehicles, or in some categories of missiles like the BrahMos and the Akash, we've come of age.
What Defense Secretary Sir said is 100% true, and today private industry can really increase their involvement in R&D.
I am very proud to say that we make, in our categories that we have been supplying to our defense forces, some of the best platforms in the world.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Market Express and I'm your host, Himakshi Bhavna. Now let's get started. So Mascot Dock Shipbuilders acquires Sri Lanka's Colombo Dockyard PLC for 452 crore rupees in cash. The deal enhances Mascot Ship's repair capacity and unlocks operational synergies across the region. Colombo Dockyard, with a revenue base of 765 crore rupees, adds additional international muscle to Mascot's maritime ambitions. BHEL bags a massive 6,500 crore order from Adani Power for 6 super-critical thermal units of 800 megawatt each. This boosts BHEL's order book for FY24 to 25 to an impressive 1.95 lakh crore rupees. Raymond Realty gears up for its big stock market debut on July 1st, listing on both the BSE and NSE. Shareholders of Raymond get a 1:1 allotment in the newly demerged real estate arm. The company is eyeing aggressive growth with 6 premium residential projects lined up in MMR for FY26 and a revenue potential of 14,000 crore rupees. CLSA is bullish on Minda initiating coverage with an outperformed rating and target price of 1,304 rupees. Calling it a growth machine, the brokerage sees earnings doubling in 3 years. CLSA cites strong industry tailwinds, portfolio diversification and improving ROCs as key drivers. The firm also highlights Minda's potential to reinvest cash flows into M&A and into new projects, setting the stage for industry-beating growth. The Finance Ministry has told public sector banks to consider making money from their investments in subsidiary companies by listing them on stock exchanges. This would happen after the subsidiaries grow larger, allowing the banks to get a good return. Sources indicate that about 15 subsidiaries or joint ventures of these public sector banks are being considered for an initial public offering or sale in the medium to long term. SEBI has uncovered a major stock market scam involving pump and dump schemes run through shell companies based in Ahmedabad. Sources tell NDTV Profit that around 3,000 to 4,000 investors were misled in this process. Now, SEBI is also looking into the possible violations linked to preferential allotments. An interim order is expected soon as the regulator cracks down on these fraudulent activities. The IPO market is set for a packed week following one of the best performances by the Nifty 50 in the past 6 months. A total of 15 IPOs are lined up, 2 from the main board segment and 13 from the SMEs. Now, in addition, 19 companies are also scheduled to debut on the stock exchanges in this week ending July 6. Now, among the main board IPOs, CarTrade will close its issue on June 30th, while Indo-Gulf Crop Sciences will wrap up on July 4. Cure Foods India, a Bengaluru-based cloud kitchen operator, has filed its DRHP with SEBI for an IPO comprising an 800 crore rupee fresh issue and an offer for sale of 4.85 crore equity shares. Now, the company may raise up to 160 crore rupees in a pre-IPO round, potentially reducing the fresh issue size. Cure Foods operates over 500 kitchens across 70 cities, including brands like Eat Fit, Nomad Pizza, and Krispy Kreme. Now, proceeds will fund 152 crore rupee for kitchen expansion, primarily Krispy Kreme, and 127 crore rupee for debt repayment. German Green Steel has filed its preliminary papers with the Securities and Exchange Board of India to raise funds via an initial public offering. The offering includes fresh shares worth 450 crore rupees and an offer for sale of up to 20 lakh shares by promoters. The company plans to use the funds to expand its plant in Gujarat, invest in a hybrid wind solar power project, and repay some loans. German Green Steel is a leading steel manufacturer in Western India, known for TMT bars, MS billets, and sponge iron. The Indian government is confident that the disinvestment of IDBI Bank is in its final stages and will be completed within the current financial year of FY26. Despite past delays and market volatility, officials expect to receive financial bids for the bank by September. 3 bidders remain in the race, and the government is aiming to raise between 40,000 to 50,000 crore rupees from the same. Adani Green Energy has achieved a major milestone in India's clean energy push. The company has added 1,011 megawatt of new power capacity at Khavda in Gujarat, taking its total operational renewable energy capacity to a record 15,539 megawatts. Now, the new capacity comes from solar, wind, and hybrid projects set up through various subsidiaries. With this, Adani Green now accounts for over 15% of India's utility-scale solar capacity and 12% of the country's combined solar and wind power output. Karnataka Bank's MD and CEO Sri Krishnan Sarma resigned effective July 15, citing personal reasons and a Mumbai relocation. Executive Director Sekhar Rao also resigned effective July 31st. Auditors flagged 37 lakh rupees in unapproved spending by the CEO and ED on consultants in Q4 of FY25, part of a 1.16 crore rupees total expenditure. Sources indicate that this issue has likely triggered their exits. Now, during May 14 analyst call, management attributed the issue to interpretational ambiguity in policy, assuring it's now resolved amicably. The co-founder of Zomato, Dipinder Goyal, is venturing into regional air travel with new company LAT Aerospace. Along with former Zomato CEO Surbhi Das, Goyal aims to create a system for high-frequency, low-cost, and demand-based regional flights across India. This new startup plans to build short takeoff and landing and medium-haul aircraft to improve air connections in smaller Indian cities. The Bombay High Court declined to fast-track a plea from HDFC Bank CEO and MD Shashidhar Jagdishan. He had sought to dismiss a fraud and cheating case filed against him by the Leelavati Kirtilal Mehta Trust. Now, a bench of Justices Ravindra Guge and MM Sathai stated that there was no urgency and scheduled the next hearing for July 14th. Mumbai's real estate market hit a record high with over 75,000 property registrations in first half of 2025, as per Anarok's report citing Maharashtra State Revenue Department data. Revenue surged 14% to 6,699 crore rupees from 5,874 crore rupees. June 2025 saw over 11,000 registrations, the second highest in 6 years, despite a 32% drop in MMR housing sales. March 2025 spike of 50 15,501 registrations, followed a 3.9%, which is close to 4% ready reckoner rate hike. Now, average home prices reached 1.6 crore rupees, reflecting a preference for high-value properties. Citi stays bullish on RBL Bank, maintaining its buy rating and raising the target price to 285 rupees. It adds RBL to its 90-day catalyst watch, expecting improvement in return on assets to 45 to 50 basis points. This optimism stems from normalization in credit cost, which Citi sees as a key driver of ROA recovery. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is visiting United States for 3 days to actually attend a key Quad foreign ministers meeting. Now, the discussions will focus on boosting cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region. Leaders will review progress on ongoing Quad initiatives and explore new proposals to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. Now, this meeting also sets the stage for the upcoming Quad Leaders Summit, which will be hosted by India. The Indian Navy stealth frigate INS Tabar sprung into action after receiving a distress call from an oil tanker that caught fire in the Arabian Sea. The tanker MT Weicheng 6 was sailing from Kandla to Oman when a fire broke out in its engine room, leading to a total power failure. All 14 crew members on board were of Indian origin. INS Tabar quickly launched a firefighting team using boats and a helicopter. In a coordinated effort, 13 Navy personnel and 15 crew members battled the blaze and brought the situation under control. A massive reactor explosion at Cyient Industries in Telangana on June 30th killed at least 8 workers and injured over a dozen. 11 fire tenders and NDRF teams are conducting rescue operations with 15 to 20 workers feared trapped. Chief Minister Raymond Realty ordered urgent rescue efforts and medical care. The cause is possibly pressure build-up and is under investigation. With the July 9 deadline fast approaching for global trade deals, US President Trump announced that his administration is preparing to send out official letters detailing new tariff rates on goods imported into the US. These reciprocal tariffs were initially introduced in April, but most were put on hold for 90 days to give countries a chance to negotiate with the trade agreements with the US government. Elon Musk didn't hold back his criticism of the Senate's newest draft of President Donald Trump's tax and spending plan, which Trump has called the Big Beautiful Bill. So Musk took to X to declare the bill utterly insane and destructive, cautioning that it would cause an immense strategic harm to the United States. He further warned that the proposed legislation would destroy millions of jobs in America. Canada has decided to withdraw its digital services tax on major tech firms like Meta and Alphabet. The move is meant to ease tensions and revive trade talks with the United States. In response to the tax, US President Donald Trump had earlier halted all trade discussions with Canada and even warned of fresh tariffs within a week. Now, however, the two sides have now agreed to return to the negotiating table. A joint statement says that they'll aim to reach a new trade deal by July 21st. Massive protests have erupted across Bangladesh after the alleged rape of a 21-year-old woman in Kumila district during a local festival. So the incident has sparked widespread outrage, leading to nationwide demonstrations by students and activists. Police have arrested 5 people, including the main accused, a local politician, and 4 others for sharing the survivor's identity online. The Dalai Lama, turning 90 on this July 6, will address a major 3-day gathering over 100 Tibetan Buddhist leaders in Dharamshala. He will share details on his succession, potentially irking China, Beijing viewing him as a separatist since 1959 exile of his. Now, after a failed uprising, insists it will choose his successor, citing historical Qing dynasty rituals. Now, the Dalai Lama, however, asserts his successor will be born outside China, urging followers to reject Beijing's choice. The Garen Ford Drang Foundation will oversee the search for the next Dalai Lama. LeBron James will exercise his $52.6 million player option for the 2025-26 season, ensuring his return to the Los Angeles Lakers and making him the first NBA player to play 23 seasons as confirmed. The 40-year-old NBA's all-time scoring leader averaged 24.4 points, 7.8 rebounds and 8.2 assists in 2024-25. James, who turns 41 in December, aims to compete for a championship while monitoring the Lakers' roster moves. Ayush Shetty, a 20-year-old Indian shuttler, clinched his first BWF World Tour title at the US Open Super 2025, defeating Canada's Brian Yang in 47 minutes, ending India's title drought this season. Now, meanwhile, 16-year-old Tanvi Sharma became the youngest Indian to reach a BWF World Tour final, but finished runner-up in women's singles, losing by 11-21, 21-16 and 10-21 to top seed Beiwen Zhang in 46 minutes. Tanvi's run included victories over higher-ranked players, signaling her potential. Well, with that, viewers, it's a wrap on Market Express, but please stay tuned to NDTV Profit as Sanjana Chauhan will be bringing up Profit 360 for you on the other side of the break.
Imports become the exception rather than the norm. And increasingly we do almost, last year for example, of the contracts that we signed of record 2,09,000 crores, 81% was awarded to the domestic industry. Our intent is to manufacture in India, preferably with design also in India.
I am so elated to be on the same screen as the Defense Secretary, and I get a chance to talk about what he said.
In certain areas, like for example, artillery guns and armored vehicles, or in some categories of missiles like the BrahMos and the Akash, we've come of age.
What Defense Secretary Sir said is 100% true, and today private industry can really increase their involvement in R&D.
I am very proud to say that we make, in our categories that we have been supplying to our defense forces, some of the best platforms in the world.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola? Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims?
Nifty and Sensex snapped the 4-day gaining streak. Broader market indices outperformed the benchmark indices. Nifty Financial Services remains the top loser for the day. IDBI Bank shares hit an 11th-month high amid heavy volumes in an otherwise weak market on reports that the government is close to the financial bid phase in the bank's privatization journey. Sources tell NDTV Profit the SEBI has uncovered major pump and dump incidents being conducted through several shell companies, with close to 4,000 investors being duped. Elon Musk owns Starlink, poised to receive its final regulatory approval to launch satellite communication services in India with space regulator in space. Weight loss Wegovy makers Novo Nordisk speak exclusively to NDTV Profit and say their pricing strategy is such that there will be a product for each category of consumer.